Welcome to Facts at 5. I'm Michael Clark. It's Thursday, May 28th. I got the day right. And I am socially distant here at the LTV Media Center in Wayne-Scott, New York, with my co host, Morgan Vaughan. Morgan, how are you today?
I'm okay.
What's
Thank
good? Do
you.
you have anything? Is there anything happening in the world besides COVID? Is there anything
Well,
happening in the town of East Hampton besides COVID?
yes, there is. And this we got from the East Hampton Star today from our favorite, Chrissy Sampson,
Okay.
that the East Hampton School District proposed budget is
Ah,
going to come up for vote.
yes.
So
This is a big deal.
it is a big deal. It's $71.98 million,
Hmm.
and the projected year-to-year increase in spending is a little bit 1.46%. And so that is you will automatically, if you're a resident of East Hampton School District town, you will receive your ballot from the mail,
Okay.
absentee, with postage paid, return stamps, return envelopes in the mail. And the ballots are due back to the district clerk by 5 p.m. on June 9th.
Okay.
Um, there will be a virtual budget hearing on Monday. I guess it's at 6 p.m. to be broadcast on by LTV on YouTube, and it will run again on LTV. And three candidates are running for two seats on the school board, and they are George Amon, who previously served one term on the board, Jackie Lowy, and I think it's Lowy actually, sorry, and John Ryan Senior, both of whom are incumbents.
John
So there's
Ryan.
one new person, and then Jackie and John, who've been there for a while.
Okay. Yeah, this is a pretty big deal as I said before. I've been hearing there's so much about taxes, lack of
Right,
taxes coming in and everything because of and how the schools are going to be impacted by it.
right.
Right? We don't have bailouts for schools,
Nope.
and airlines okay, but schools
Right.
not so much. And so they were anticipating and Chrissy says so here as well that it's up to 20% reduction in what the schools are going to get in
Wow.
terms of funding next year. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And so East Hampton School District was looking at replacing things like the turf football
Hmm.
field, and so there was another big one they were doing.
Renovations at East Hampton Middle School auditorium.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
And
when are they going to renovate the high school auditorium? That's my question.
as a theater buff, you would
Not only as a theater, but as I went there, and it is literally, I think, the same
as
as
when you were in school.
maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago when I was there.
Back before electricity.
Exactly. Anyway,
It's a
and aside,
Yeah, that's a great space too. It seats about 1,000 people in there. It's a good venue, but the yeah, there is really a lot of things that they would need to cut back. So if they're not able to get the budget passed, not that we're saying vote one way or the other, they would cut the turf
right.
and those type
The
of
other
things.
projects, yeah.
And I think the other big part of this is they're thinking about putting together a whole culinary program and putting together a whole culinary um, facility at East Hampton High School, which I think is, my own personal opinion, not a fact. My own, my own personal opinion, being that I went to cooking school one day,
Oh, wow.
also before electricity, and especially out here in a touristy area,
Right.
it's a good, it's a
Well, I
good
think one of the
location.
things that their career and technical education, as Christy says, are buzzwords in schools. And partly that's because people are beginning to realize that with college tuitions being as crazy, outrageous expensive,
That's right, yeah.
why would you go through that if you don't need to or want to?
Right.
It's different if you want to be a physicist or a doctor or a
Yeah.
lawyer. It's different. But if you want to be a chef, there really isn't a huge reason to spend $150,000 on an undergraduate year,
Yeah.
degree. So it's interesting that people are going to start to go this way again. I think.
And then the question for them is, what does cooking look like in the new normal, right?
Oh, right,
We
yeah.
we could expand that conversation into, okay, now how are we serving in restaurants
Right.
and how are we preparing the food in restaurants? How is that going to be different? So again, an ever changing environment, and but I think it would be good to have that type of facility in the town. Um, drives employment and education.
Right.
Good thing.
Yeah.
So that's the mail-in that'll
Yep.
be coming
Mail
soon.
in, and it'll be so it's due on June 9th by 5 p.m. So you got to get it in a couple days before that, obviously.
Right. Okay. All right. I was thinking about like we were talking yesterday about how quickly things have happened
Right.
and all that's taken place. And I went onto the New York State website to try to get some information about because there's still some confusion about who should open, who shouldn't open,
Right.
and how they're supposed to be opening up. And so I put together a list here. So I think of some of the key things that have happened that that we've done as a state in order to uh, fight the pandemic.
Right. And this is at forward.ny.gov,
Right.
which has a great amount of information.
Right. Because what I didn't know until I got on there was like you basically have to sign a piece of paper there that says that you will follow these type of things. So if you're a retail business, you have to go to the website and then you have to fill this out and submit it
Wow.
to the state in order to be open. Now, is everybody going to do that? Probably not. And are they tracking everybody? Probably not. I don't know. How could they? But and it was very, very comprehensive in terms of guidelines, safety guidelines, and
Right.
what you really should do in order to be safe. But some of the key things I think that have happened is that so now we know as of yesterday, Long Island has met all 7 metrics to begin phase 1 of the state's regional phased reopening plan. They said phase 2, right, could take up to 2 weeks. But now I just heard that Steve Malone say, maybe we can get that shortened a little bit. So who knows?
Right.
And New York State and local governments will provide death benefits for frontline workers who died from COVID-19 during this emergency.
Wow.
The state is continuing to direct resources and focus efforts on reducing the spread of COVID-19 in lower income and predominantly minority neighborhoods. Really important. We talked a little bit about that as well. Governor Cuomo renewed his call to Congress to pass the Americans First law to help prevent corporate bailouts following the COVID-19 pandemic. And Governor Cuomo called on the U.S. Senate to pass a coronavirus relief bill that helps all Americans and provides unrestricted fiscal support for states. And on and on. I mean, you can go to the website and see all of these things, but
Well, I think one of the interesting things when I saw him yesterday, I didn't watch today, was that he wants to make sure that if the government is going to give money to big corporations, that they can't have fired a bunch of people and then not hire them back. There has to be, they absolutely have to say you have a corporation, you got $1 billion from the government, but you laid off 1,000 people. You have to have all of those 1,000 people back on the books before you can get any money from the government.
absolutely, that's a great thing.
And it seems pretty much like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah,
but
I mean, why shouldn't they have to follow the same rules that the small businesses are
Exactly.
following? Because they're not allowed, if they get personal protection program,
right,
they're not allowed to lay off.
right,
Unless
exactly.
for COVID-19 reasons, they can still lay people off if they aren't performing.
Sure, yeah.
And that's all documented. but-
Right. And then the other thing that I think is this idea of almost like a New Deal, like an FDR program to put money into the state by doing a bunch of huge capital projects like LaGuardia Airport.
Yes.
Let's fix LaGuardia Airport, for heaven's sakes.
What, we got to get rid of the gravel runways? You
I don't know. That place. It is hilariously, it's so bad that they did a skit on SNL about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just notoriously awful. So if we have this, this is a way to get money back into New York State, get people working, and improve the infrastructure.
Yeah. And it's a time to do it. Right? No more scotch taping the wings
Right.
back on
Yeah,
the
let's
planes.
not do that anymore.
So now I also found a great article in the New York Times. Very, very simple, and I think we kind of know this, but maybe not. And it was about, can you get the coronavirus from a surface? Right at the very beginning, we didn't know much about it. We were
Right.
like, don't touch anything. Everybody's walking around with their hands up in the air like this, and washing the grocery bags and
Right.
washing lettuce. I mean, we were washing lettuce with soap and water. Did you remember that? I didn't, but, but it was happening.
It was happening.
Yeah. So it says as the lockdowns lift, many more Americans are going to come in contact with surfaces that other people have touched, like doorknobs, tabletops, shopping bags, and more. And people finding the situation confusing. And so the early scientific data or advice, and it encouraged people to treat surface contact with utmost seriousness. More recently, though, they suggested that few people get the virus this way. The main transmission mechanism instead appears to be close contact with someone who has the virus. So, and that's the whole mask
Right.
debate.
The whole
And we'll
talking.
talk a little bit about that
Right.
in a minute.
Right.
But you're more apt to get it like talking face to face or sitting nearby in an indoor setting. And I know that I was reading this morning that in Nassau County they're thinking about in certain store areas closing some of the roads so that restaurants and businesses can expand outward
Oh, okay.
in the open air, open
Right.
space to still be able to, so the businesses can stay open, provide
Right.
business, but there's more room to do it, which makes sense. But the Center for Disease Control and Prevention recently tried to clarify its guidance on the subject. They said it may be possible that a person can get COVID-19 by touching a surface or object that has the virus on it and then touching their own mouth, nose, or possibly their eyes. But this isn't thought to be the main way the virus spreads. So what should we do? So they said one thing to understand is that merely touching virus particles isn't enough to become infected. You probably have to touch many particles and then touch your face, which I notice sometimes when I
When you're watching this and you're like,
rewatch
my
it over,
God,
I'm like,
I'm
yeah, you know, it's a lot of history there. But objects that small and other people briefly touch, like groceries and shopping bags, seem to present a very small risk. That's
well,
why,
this is where the hand washing comes in, though, because the idea is that sure, you can maybe there's some virus on your grocery bag, but it isn't the grocery bag that's going to get you sick or touching the grocery bag. It's touching the grocery bag and then touching your face
without washing your hands.
without washing your hands. So
Right.
that's why Dr. Fauci from the beginning has been like, I wash my hands like 50 times a day, and I don't think he's exaggerating.
Right.
And the other thing, obviously, is close talking. Because if you've ever been to a play and sat in the front row, you know that when people talk loudly or anything, that they will spit on you, and that's the droplets. That's what they're talking
Really,
about.
first row you get spit on? In
Oh yeah. Have you never had that happen? I have. You're like,
No.
oh. So it is. So that's part of it, and so that is part of the mask wearing, etc.
But I've thought about it exactly what you just said. Like even when you're pumping gas or pressing the up button on the elevator,
Right.
you're like, what do I do now? And you think
Don't touch your face.
Yeah, you think you're thinking about that, and it's not that causes it.
Right.
It's
Well, even having wipes or wiping your hands off just to kill the virus, just
Yeah.
even without anything on it, is better than nothing. And then
that's why now.
touching your face.
I keep that in the car, but the mask is still key. I
Well,
think.
we just had a conversation about this with. We had a tech call with somebody who lives in Arizona, and he saw me and the program director Patrice Jacobson wearing the mask, and instantly he was like, "Oh, I can't believe you guys have fallen for this. The virus is so small. There are molecules of anything else that are so much bigger. The virus is going to get through that." And we both were like, "Yeah, we get what you're saying.
Right.
However, we're in a different situation. We're in New York. We are not in Arizona, where they don't have that many cases yet.
Right.
And it also, besides being something that the CDC and people have told us to do, it is also a sign, in my opinion, that you care about the folks around you.
Yeah.
And I think it's a reminder that we're in a global pandemic.
Yep.
It's even if it's even,
Not over.
we got to remember.
Yeah.
It's not business as usual, as much as we want to pretend it is.
Yeah.
And just to reiterate that, it's been on all the news outlets. Everybody's been talking about the fact that we hit 100,000 people yesterday.
Yep.
And which is unbelievable, more than some wars that we fought. And just to know that that was actually yesterday, and by 1 o'clock today, another 871 people died.
Yeah.
This is not
No.
over.
Yeah.
And so that's why we wear the mask, Mr. Arizona.
Yeah. And by the way, we're stopping doing business with him. And
Oh, we wish.
yeah.
But it is, I think it's important. I think it's a kindness.
Right. But that's you could also debate this point. There's the difference in of opinion in such a wide difference of opinion.
We're a big country.
Here's a person who thought, and he's entitled to his opinion, right? So he thinks very strongly. You guys are out of your minds,
Right.
I think he's crazy for living in Arizona.
He said it was 108 degrees yesterday, so there you go.
Enjoy.
But anyway, I think it's a point that we've been talking about masks a lot, and I think this is part of it.
Yeah.
The other thing about masks, and this is something that I think goes to the New York Times article, is that if you're wearing a mask, you might not touch your face as much.
Well, that is true.
And that is something they pointed out as maybe one of the reasons why wearing a mask is so beneficial.
Okay, that's pretty good. I didn't think about that. All right. Well,
No, you approve.
I do approve. All right. Well, I guess that's pretty much it for today. We got Peter Ben Squack tomorrow. We got the town supervisor at his usual Friday interview, right? What else? Anything?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No.
Well, thank you to our sponsor for Facts at 5, which is Sound Aircraft Services, right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
And don't forget to follow us on social media, YouTube, and check out our website on ltveh.org. Ellen works very hard on that. Thank you to Jason behind the glass. Jason? Morgan? And we'll see you tomorrow, folks. Thank you.